Hey everybody, what's really going on this campus? I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. Let's see something here real quick. I got a 5x5 from some people. Checking out, making sure that everything is correct here. Somebody messed with my equipment slightly. I'm not going to say any names, but Kirsten, good to see you. Dee Dee Dazzle, how are you? Sandy Wandy, Diane, and Console. Kristen Melinda, thank you. Dale Cox, appreciate you. Sandy Wandy, Jane Aldrich, how are you? Sweet Liberty, hey Kestrel, glad you're here. Lynn Sandy, there you go. Carol Barnhart, Monique, yeah, I'm glad you're here. My understanding is that you were supposed to already be asleep by now. What's going on? What is going on? You're supposed to already be asleep. That was my understanding. I'm kidding, but look at that. Caroline in Canada is here and on time. How about that? Twitter for quoi? How are you? Ahoy. Good evening to you too. Maria, how are you? Good. Glad to hear it. Kit Kat, what's going on? Hello, Roger. You know what? Roger's the name that's going to come up here tonight, right? We're going to, Liam Payne. We're going to be talking about Liam Payne's death today, people. I'm bummed out about this. I really am. I am bummed out about this. Rona Cooley, good to see you. James Collins Cares. How are you, man? Hello, Scatter from Australia. Yeah, this is a rumor that had some legs, but I think, hello, Joanne Ventrilla. I think that because of the environment that we're currently in, right, the odds that that everything is going to start coming back to those kind of rumors, and I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way. You understand? I'm not saying it's wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying that we got to start looking, right? We got to start looking at everything with maybe a slightly more discerning palate. Deadhead, how are you? Hello, Anna. Glad you're here. Monk. Megan Jeffrey. And I mean that, people. I mean that. We're in Diddy craziness, right? And it's causing all kinds of, we're looking at the world through glasses that are not rose-colored. And we're looking for evil around every turn in sometimes ways that it isn't there. Shelly, how are you? Again, I'm not saying that's happening to you, bud, at all. I'm just, so all of you send me articles that you think I ought to look at, or you send me stories that I ought to chase down. By the way, I'm not complaining. I think that's great. I really do. I get a lot of fantastic stuff from you. I get a lot of fantastic stuff. However, we are getting to the point where everything is somehow tied into a conspiracy that has something to do with Diddy or human tea. And I think it's probably not that cut and dry. Holly Care, how are you? So let's bust this out, right? We'll start talking about this a little bit. Liam Payne, as we all know from the last show that I did, which they demonetized. Hello, Bill Herrera. And I think they demonetized it because I showed the inside of his hotel room. Did a lot of close-ups on the inside of his hotel room where we talked about the paraphernalia that had been laying around. And a lot of people have been asking at the time, do you think maybe that box of soap is what they put drugs in, right? And I said, they hide that a lot. In prison, a lot of guys hide stuff in, well, as it turns out, the word that is coming out of down there is that the only people that had access to that soap, right? That's the hotel soap. That's what they give out at the hotel. So this led them to start looking at over 800 hours of video. And they have made arrests in this case. 3 of them thus far, right? One worked at the hotel, right? One is an alleged drug dealer. And this is the one that's bumming me out. The other is allegedly Liam Payne's close friend, Rogelio Roger Norez, tonight denied abandoning the former One Direction star in the hours leading up to his death. This is the Daily Mail, by the way. Keeping it since half of you guys are Daily Mail people. In an exclusive conversation, Rogers denied being a suspect in the 31-year-old's death and rubbished claims police had raided his home in his native Buenos Aires. They raided somebody's home. They're raiding homes. They're absolutely doing it. They have a crime down there that is a little bit different than anything we have here, right? It's a crime called abandoning. And I'm not exactly sure how this thing works, right? But apparently you can get busted for abandoning someone before, right? Something that leads to their death, or you could get the same kind of thing after. Now, this is a tough situation. When this happened, right? I said there is a lack of defensive wounds, for lack of a better way to put it, right? For lack of a better way to put it, it lacked the defensive wounds that we would have expected somebody to have on their body if they hopped out of if they did this on their own. What happens is human nature, your hands are going to go out, your arms are going to go out. You're going to do what you can to break your fall. And I had people send me emails that say, you know what, if you really wanted to take yourself out, you wouldn't do that. I promise you wouldn't be able to stop yourself. This is being run by a part of your brain that you don't have a whole lot of control over, right? This is honestly the part of your brain. It's like when you roll up the windows, jumping off a cliff with skis on, right? It takes years to try to get to a point where you can't do that. It's not something you're going to get on your first attempt. I promise. As human beings, we have something that right? We have a defensive mechanism that is always trying to protect our dome piece, right? Because all of the important gray stuff up there, they don't want to fall out, right? Christy Hughes, it did not happen in Vegas, but that's a great question. And if it did happen in Vegas, of course, it could stay there. Indigo's Insight, Scientology. Any relation to Indigo Twin? Jason P., good to see you. Glad you're here. V. McWilliams, what's happening? So about a 45-foot fall, right? Over a fairly high balcony, but there's no defensive wounds to this cat, right? When he hit the ground, he hit it without making any effort whatsoever to throw hands out, to do anything to protect his brain pan. That doesn't happen. So at the time, there were a lot of investigators who were commenting on that. Now, since then, I don't know if you guys have ever watched, I'll give this dude a plug too. Have you ever watched Body Bags? It's a really cool show. It really, really is. Hello, Jenny. Yes, and you are here again too. You gotta love it. Hello, my other's keeper. Joseph Scott Morgan. This guy is a legitimate, right, pathologist, and the guy's sharp. And one of the things that he said is that pathologists spend a lot more time investigating people unaliving themselves, right, than people who bump themselves off, right? You know, didn't we kind of say this at the time? KDB, didn't we kind of say this at the time here? I very much remember saying, you know, it doesn't appear to show that. And there were a lot of people, when I was putting up pictures of everything on the inside of the hotel, there was a lot of people that were saying, you know what, this looks staged, right? And at the time I said, you know, it very well did look staged. In all honesty, I think it looks staged. However, right? However, that's what drug rooms look like, right? I mean, there's drugs everywhere because you stop giving a crap about anything, right? That's a real thing. So I think it's hard to distinguish. And I think a lot of people looked at that scene and went, I don't know, right? I don't know. Relatable Reese, good to see you. Kristen Melendez here. Hello, Wilfred Harry, Catherine J, Squirrel Nut Zipper. How you been? Squirrel just entered the room. He says, this forensic pathologist said that when he looked over the autopsy reports, there are 25 injuries on this guy. And he made a point of describing how you can get multiple injuries from one, what's the word I'm looking for? Mechanism of sorts, right? You hop off of a balcony, and if you were to land on your back, on your shoulder blades, this happened, I describe this a lot from my skiing, right? I can close my arms like this, but when my back hits the ground, if I over rotate a back foot, my head is going to hit the ground. It's an impossibility that it's not going to. So if I had done that on pavement, my back would show injuries, right? Somewhere up around my shoulder blades. And the back of my head, probably on the occipital bone part, is likely to be shattered. That's 2 injuries from one fall, makes complete sense. However, Joseph Scott Morgan, who is sharp as a tack, right? This is a very intelligent dude. And he said, hello, Lumen. He said, no, these are the kind of injuries that would have had to come from something other than the fall. Now, do you remember what the inside of that room looked like? Right? Hey, real as it gets. They were talking about, right? They were talking about he trashed the room, right? Like a rock star. You know, he's throwing stuff out windows. He's breaking stuff. He tossed a champagne flute at a glass front by the television, broke the TV as well. I don't know that I'd buy it, especially if there's all these injuries that are not consistent with somebody hopping over a rail or being, taking himself out. It's more consistent, and the pathologist said this. You know what? These kinds of injuries are usually more associated with a fist fight. This is the kind of stuff that, for instance, you hop off of a balcony, right? And you land on this side. There's going to be injuries all over the left side of your body. No two ways about it. However, if there's a cut on your right cheekbone, that's a problem because there's no chance that your head hit and then you went to the other side and hit. It's non sequitur, right? These things you look at them and you go, no, there's something wrong with this picture. Why are you doing that, squirrel nut zipper? That cat is always on the wrong side of a door. Always. It doesn't matter which side she's on. She wants to be on the other side. Plus, the drug use doesn't match. There's a lot of truth to that, right? There is a lot of truth to that. Everything about this kind of stinks, right? It really does. Everything about this kind of stinks. And he's got this friend, folks. He's got this friend. And I personally don't know what to make of this guy. This is Rogelio Roger, they call him, Norez. He had accompanied Liam in the days before he died, had been charged with abandoning a person following death, right? This is apparently who this guy is. This isn't alleged. Everyone is saying there's nobody else that he hung out with, right? He didn't, because the other person they're looking for is a friend, right? The third person that they arrested is a friend of his. And it's described as a friend that he was kicking it with on the regular right up until the time that, that's right, Cheryl, there is not bouncing. That is one of those things that it's a myth. Now, if you land in a field, right, it's a little different than if you land on pavement. A lot of it has to do with but I agree with you. And a lot of it doesn't make sense. Someone said today that the pink cola was not in his autopsy. Well, you know something? It's hard to tell if the pink cola is in your system anyway, because the ingredients of that crap from one dealer to the next aren't going to be the same, right? Sometimes it actually has cola in it, and sometimes there is zero cola in it, right? Now, in the autopsy, they described a different type of baccarat, right? Waterford, a different kind of crystal, right? With a slightly different spelling. And it looks like they were saying that, you've got the normal crystal and then you've got crystal, right? Like something else that they got down there that is a different form of the amphetamines. And I kind of believe maybe they're describing some of the ingredients that are coming out of this, this pink stuff. By the way, it's usually just something to give you legs or something to get you up and running, right? So usually an amphetamine or something along those lines. I suppose they could use yayo, but that's more expensive. So usually they're using crank, right, to get a person so that they're going to be good and wired. Then they're going to add some stuff to create a euphoric feeling. And allegedly, they were using ketamine for the purpose of that. They also found there was a whole litany of stuff that they said was in his system at the time of his death, right? And yeah, there's a lot of this that isn't making sense. But the part that really bums me out the most is this friend of his, right? Who's ridiculously wealthy, very, very wealthy guy. But Liam's girlfriend, right, said, this guy's kind of creepy. He never leaves them alone. This guy is just he's always there. I believe she said his presence, it's ubiquitous, right? There's never a time where this cat isn't there. I would imagine that's got to be somewhat frustrating, right? A hanger on. And a lot of times people do this around people that are famous, right? This guy is a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He makes a ton of money, has mansions and whatnot. And apparently Liam liked this guy because of the fact that he was sharp as hell. No, Cheryl M., they did not find any track marks, right? They did not find any track marks. Now, I will tell you this from a person that used needle drugs for a very long period of time, right? It's not like it is in the movies. right? I promise you. I could stick you in the arm to get something into you, and I could do it so that it didn't leave a mark afterwards. I promise. When you start to see track marks is when people are doing this again and again and again and again, right? That's when you start to get tracks. You're looking at scarring. You're looking at bruising, and it's usually because they start using equipment that's not brand new. It's one of the things that happens to people who take up that lifestyle, right? You use one ETA, you use one banger, right? One gimmick. What do you call it? Needle, right? Use one of those for 2 or 3 weeks instead of going out and getting a new one. Those are the kind of things that leave really big bruises, and you'll see someone who's literally, it looks like railroad tracks going down their arms. But apparently there's nothing like that on this guy. The only injuries that there are injuries on him that are not consistent with a fall. So I think that they're going to have to do a lot more investigating. Shelly, have a good night. Thank you for spending a little time with us. I appreciate that. Hello, Kellyanne. A warm greetings to you as well. Yeah, a rig. There you go, James Collin. A rig. So he is accused of abandoning him. That's the crime that they charge these people with is abandon, right? You're abandoning someone, and you abandoning them, like, I guess, because it's not really explained very well, but assume like if somebody gets really loaded, right? They're really wasted on something, and you leave them in a condition where they might fall off of something, you could be charged with that. I think that's genius, by the way. I think that that's a charge that should be available in every country on planet Earth, right? It should be called the having your six law, right? If this is your homeboy, and allegedly he was at the hotel a couple of hours before this happened, right? I never abandoned Liam, says his friend. I went to his hotel 3 times that day and left 40 minutes before this happened. That's a problem as far as I'm concerned. That's a problem because there were people, he says there were over 15 people at the hotel lobby, chatting and joking with him when I left. By all accounts, when he was in that lobby, he was acting like a jackwagon, right? Liam was messed up. By the time he was in that lobby, he was stumbly. And this is from the 911 call, right? Saying that they needed to get cops out there. They said while he was in the lobby, it was really obvious that he's on some kind of substance. He's not doing well. You need to get out here. But they were describing a scene in the lobby where he was out of control, right? So yeah, there were 15 people in the lobby. They were joking with him when he left. I could have never imagined something like this would happen. I've given my statement to the prosecutor on October 17th as a witness, and I haven't spoken to any police officer or prosecutor ever since. Now, if that is the case, right, well, then obviously this cat didn't get arrested. So who's his friend? Who was down there, right? Who was down there that did not get arrested? Yes, that is what. Thank you, Christy Hughes. I really appreciate you. I really, really do. Leave no man behind. It's even better. Even better, Christy Hughes. Cuddly Floof says, hey, Tommy, Jaguar, right, refers to the pink powder as 2C. Yeah. Devil's Dandruff. Yeah. Special K with pink dye. Yeah. I mean, this stuff it's a bathtub crank product, right? It's made with amphetamines, and they dye it pink, right? Because it's just cool, right? It's just cool. It's pink. Party drugs, sadly, very often, each generation gets some kind of a cocktail of things where, Kit Kat, exactly. It's a trash bag full of chemicals. Throw a little of this in, throw a little of that in. And this is why 2C's not usually the same crap twice, right? Article in Claim states Roger was isolating him to keep him clean, acting as a manager. Follow the cash / insurance. V. McWilliams, here's my problem with that, right? Because I think there's a possibility that everything that he's saying, right, that's probably the case. Yeah. Okay. The problem with that is I'm not even a fan of this dude, right? I'm not a fan of Liam. But in the little bit of a deep dive I did the last time we went into this, he's been super vocal that the reason he became a drug addict was because they forced him into rooms and kept him there. Every time when he was in the boy band, right, they would get to a hotel. They didn't want these guys out there getting wasted. They didn't want these guys doing anything that was going to hurt the band. So they would lock them in their hotel rooms. And Liam said that being locked in those hotel rooms and being isolated is what made him want to do drugs. It's what made him have a drinking problem. So I think that's a scary concept, right? Especially if he says that out loud. Yeah, what I'm doing is trying to isolate him from everybody else. Oh my God. Does anybody on the lifeboat get freaked out by the idea that keeping him isolated is a good idea? Keeping him connected with people. There should have never been anybody that left that cat alone in his room, especially if he was falling down in the lobby. If you're his best friend, you probably know what he's abusing, right? Now, one of those pills, allegedly, is Klonopin. Now, I'll tell you something, man. If you're drinking on Klonopin, that is a dangerous cocktail right there, man. It really is. That's a strong, strong drug. You know, clonazepam's no joke. It's a very, very strong drug. It makes people lose memory, all kinds of other stuff. What it doesn't make people who are unconscious, right, magically float up into the air and fall over the side of a balcony. Because this dude, I don't believe, was in a position to get himself over that balcony without a whole lot of help. And it sounds like, thank you, V. McWilliams. I really appreciate you. It sounds to me like there was probably the action that went on in there, one of two things, right? There was a legitimate fight in there, or they trashed the place to try to make it look like, you know, something was up. You look fantastic in green, cuddly floof. 25 injuries, quite a few, not explained by a fall. Yeah, that's what I was saying, right? That's two men. This doesn't make sense. And the forensic pathologist, again, the guy from Body Bags, who I think is sharp as hell. He's a great communicator. He's fun to listen to, right? He doesn't buy it. He said that these are the kind of injuries that are far more often associated with fighting somebody, right? Somebody closing a fist and bopping you in the head kind of a thing. Squirrel on zipper. Told you she was going to be here. Yeah. Do. Hold on, folks. Sorry.
Lay down in that basket.
It's also sad on so many levels. I wish his friend had been a true friend. My wish for all of the crew is to have true friends at the core. You know what? I have this conversation with people very often, right? You know, people will say stuff like, you know, did you learn anything in prison, or what's the most important lesson that you learned in prison? And honestly, one of the Claren, thank you. One of the things that one of the takeaways, you know, one of the things that really sticks with you in prison is friendship is a completely different thing inside that building. I promise you. You get on the other side of that fence and things are completely different, right? Completely different. Because unless you're at a camp or whatever, but if you've got a custody level where the people there are assumed to be slightly dangerous, when you go to the shower, you are 100% vulnerable to anybody that wants to go in there and start firing on you, fighting you, or stabbing you, or hitting you in the head with a lock, right? That's in a laundry bag or a sock or anything like that. Very, very dangerous stuff. Hey, Darcy. It's a frightening concept. So you need somebody that's got your back. And when they say, I got your back, it's not the way people say it on the street. What it means is literally, I'm putting boots on, I'm grabbing a weapon, and I'm going to sit in a chair right in front of the shower, right? Literally, the curtain's going to be here. I'm going to be on the other side of that with a weapon, making sure that you can put soap in your hair and wash your hair with your eyes shut, right? This is, it's very, very different. And it's an amazing thing to me how fast people bail on someone for an OD. Thank you, V. McWilliams. Yeah, and I apologize. I am Kit Kat. Why, thank you. You know what? I don't know if how many of you saw me over on Atwood today. I have a massive amount of respect for a woman walking around with 9 chunks of bullet in her face, right? Who has never backed down from this, right? Never backed down from this. Put herself on the line and said, it's been this dude, knowing full well this guy's dangerous, right? Never backed down from her story. She's a soldier. She's an absolute soldier. And I don't know, I'm super, super impressed with her, you know? Really, really impressed with her. Christy Hughes says, women just braid hair. I'll tell you something else, Christy Hughes. There is one guy in every single unit who is in the process of braiding someone's hair. Always. There are guys that do it for a hustle, right? There are guys that help dudes with dreads, all that stuff. That's a popular thing inside. I personally never got anything. I didn't get my hair braided. It's probably a shock to you, huh? I like the Atwood Army. I dig it. I really do. Lilith, good to see you. Now, you were conceived at a conjugal visit. Christy Hughes, that's one of the most, I've never met anyone who could say that. I have never met anyone who could say that. That is wild. That really is. That's wild. So you come from good stock. I love it. I do not judge people for being a convict. It would be a bit hypocritical. You know what I mean? I would rather be there for my friend, call the cops or emergency than bail. I'm sorry, but their life is important to me more than anything. Right? Sorry, but right? If you walk away, and I'll tell you something, this is an epidemic in among people who had the same problem that I had, right? Very often what happens is somebody goes out at a party and one of the first things they do, if they think the person's gone, right? They look for a place to dump them. There were laws back in the day that if you brought that person up to a hospital and said, hey, man, you really need to work on my friend, they were going to try to get you for whatever that person ingested. Now, the laws have since changed, and you can absolutely safely, I'd be shocked. I'm not joking, herder of goats. I think it'll probably be this week. I really do. I think it'll be this week. You just want to make sure that you don't step on anyone whose name happens to be loosely associated with those. We didn't do crime in a vacuum, right? A lot of times, the stuff that you did with, other people, and there's legalities and stuff that we didn't really take into massive account when we were in the process of writing it. I should say when Johnny was in the process of writing it. I'm grateful for Sean as well. He puts up great content. He's a really, really humble dude. And currently, especially within the subject matter that we've been talking about, do you think anybody out there is getting the kind of people on that show that anyone else is? Huh? Kellyanne, there will probably be an audio book. There'll probably be an audio book in my voice. There'll probably be an audio book in my brother's voice as well. Really, really, really good chance. It was meant to be so easy, right? It's never easy. Nothing's ever easy. 2 hotel workers, right, are among the 3 people that are being formally investigated by authorities in connection with Liam's death. That's according to ABC News, right? Several reports tonight said 3 people had been charged with offenses. However, sources familiar with the Argentine judicial system said that they had instead been arrested and placed under official suspicion. How's that for a... Well, no, you're not in trouble, but you are under, right? You are under official suspicion. I find that crazy. Here's a good one. I was conceived during take 3 of a you-know-what movie. No, that's fantastic. That's funny as hell. In the backseat of a 68 Mustang. Really? Not a big car, man. That is not a big car. If you had said a Cadillac, you know what I mean? Like a 68 Cadillac or something. But no, man, that's it's really not the kind of car you want to be doing the nasty in the back of. Or is it me? Is it me? I don't think it's me. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate your support. Murphy, that's a kind thing to say, but I think you're talking about my brother. That would be the Johnny Scoville. That cat really is a legend. I have learned so much about addiction and realized I approached it without compassion in the past. I feel the question is, why do they do the drug? What emotions are they trying to escape? Thank you, by the way, Shane. This is one of those things that it's easy to hate someone. It is. It's easy to be very judgmental of someone whose symptoms are annoying, right? And what are the symptoms of addiction? Well, the first one's lying, guaranteed. The first one is going to be you're not going to be honest to the people around you, man, right? Honestly. you're going to lie to the people around you. There's a really good chance that you're also going to be stealing from people, right? All of these symptoms of addiction make you look like a criminal. It leads people to behavior that is reprehensible, and it leads them to behavior that's reprehensible more often than not on the people they care about, right? Always starts in the immediate circle, right? Because all of a sudden you're out of money, and all of a sudden there's nothing left to pawn. And what have you done your entire life if you really were in a bad spot? Probably called your family. So it's frustrating when we see people who are in the middle of that. And if we're not an addict ourselves, we look at them and go, why would you have ever done this again? You were clean, right? Why would you have ever done it again? That person can't explain the unexplainable. They can't. It's like saying to somebody that needed insulin, why the hell did you stop processing sugar again? Didn't we have this under control? Right? What's up with the insulin stuff? I thought you had this locked. And I know there are going to be people, I'll get emails, and they're going to go, no, man, it's not the same thing at all. I promise you it is. It's the exact same thing. If it makes it easier to think about it in terms of type 2 diabetes, right? You were born with a predisposition to get that disease if you followed the wrong path, right? With all kinds of, there's a bunch of different things you can do that are going to hasten you right into that. You can be born with the crap inside, right? You can be have that predisposition to being an addict. If you never come across a substance in your life, it's not really going to be an issue, right? It's not. You can avoid the addiction, but lifestyle, right? Your lifestyle as an addict can lead you to be a person that robs banks, right? If I was a dude with good papers, I'd hide behind JD Delay. I'll tell you what, Christy Hughes, here's the good thing. And I think people lose sight of this, honestly. If you have good papers in there, you don't have to hide, right? It's, you don't have to hide. If you got good paperwork in prison, you don't have to hide. You got nothing to worry about. Honestly, they're really only messing with people whose crimes are foul, right? You know, if you're in there for something that the fellas deem honorable, and I know that that's probably a word when you use it right before the word crime, it probably sounds pretty stupid to most people, but there are crimes that are considered honorable, and there are crimes that are not considered honorable. I promise you, if kids are involved, it is not an honorable crime, right? If you're beating women or you're doing something to women, it's not an honorable crime. I behaved in some crazy ways, but like my mom with mental health, oh, can't you just stop it for now? Yeah, right. Unfortunately, well, addiction is just another form of mental health, right? I mean, I promise you, you know, it's, we're fighting our own mind. Yeah, we are. Relapse is so common, but I feel like it isn't talked about. Stress, lack of resources, loss of job, right? Person dream can push you over the edge and lead you back to the habit. Yeah, 100%, right? This is real talk. And unfortunately, very often people decide that they're going to try to get help, and they're going to do it with that sphere of influence, that circle of friends, right? That family, not people that really understand what you're going through because they've never been there. So what ends up happening is, again, you try to explain the unexplainable. You go out, you get your life together, everything is going good. Nothing comes up that stresses you in your life. You got a great job, they give you a raise, and I'll be damned if the weekend of that raise, you don't relapse. Stupid as hell. Why? Were you celebrating? No. I'll tell you what it is. You have no idea how to be successful. I promise you. If you're a needle addict, you forgot what success was a long time ago, right? A long time ago. Sad, right? Sad but true. Relapse is very common, and it's something that if you have conversations about this before it happens. I've heard people say you never say stuff like that because you don't want to give them an opportunity to run right back to a relapse. If you start talking about it and normalizing it, good God, people, trust me, you want to talk about it, right? You want to talk about it. Do you realize the number of people who will relapse and then get the efforts? You know what I'm talking about? Where you go, F it, I've blown it now, right? I don't have any days. I was 65 days. You know, why? Why bother now? I already blew it. Let's go get some more. And they will turn what could have been a one-day relapse, right? That they learned from and got up and dusted themselves off and started again. Instead, very often, right? Family and friends will look at them and go, you did it again? You know what, man? Get out, right? Seriously, we're not going to want you around. Tough love, right? Kick somebody out that just relapsed. And you know what you're telling them, right? Go do it, right? Go out there and do it as much as you can. And then when you crash and you're at ground zero, right? You can't get any lower, rock bottom, give me a call. Horton Thistle, good to see you. Right? Then give me a call. Then we'll start to work with you. It's a disgusting thing. It really is. Every person is struggling with something, seen and unseen. I try to remember that each time I look at another human being. Wow, what a beautiful thing, right? Honestly, if everybody did this, right, then it simply would not happen. We wouldn't have any issues whatsoever. Also, it sounds so simple, right? But how about just the simple concept of, are you moving closer to love or are you moving closer to hate? I promise you, this is one of the most simple concepts in the entire world, and it can change your life, right? If you're moving closer to hate, you start evaluating the things that you do. You say, I don't understand what you're talking about. Hey, you type out a really long email to somebody that's kind of hateful and you're a little pissed and in a bad mood, don't send it. I promise you're going to regret it later. Don't send it. Think before you do it, right? Reread it and say, is this moving closer to love or is this moving closer to hate? Right? We want to defend ourselves. We want to fire back, right? We want righteous indignation. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way, right? It really doesn't. But it's a part of it. And it's a part of it, relapses come in a couple of different varieties. There are terrible relapses, right? And a terrible relapse is the one that you get up from and you have no idea why it happened. That is a terrible relapse. If you continue to party and do whatever you did and you do not walk away going, you know why that happened? I did this, this, and this. And here, if that doesn't happen, that is a waste of a relapse. If, however, you go back and you look through your journals and you start looking and you're like, holy crap, you know what? This relapse started 3 weeks ago. I can go back into the journal and tell you the day that I started to relapse. I didn't use that day, right? Because that's not how relapse works. Relapse starts out with you just thinking about it first, right? Honestly, it's never, all right, we're going to go get high. There's a whole process that you go through, right? The mental process, the emotional process. There's a lot of crap that goes on before you go, all right, that's it. Let's hit the liquor store or call the dope man, right? And sometimes you can be in relapse for 6 or 7 months, right? What people also don't talk about is how hard some of the addict's character defects can be to get rid of for good. Lying, narcissism, anger, etc. Here's the deal with that. And I agree with you, by the way. Dan C., I absolutely agree with you. I really do. Jason P., 25 years next year. Wow, that's incredible, my brother. That really is. Hold on. We'll bust this out even though we got a year to go because that is just, it's doing it and doing it and doing it right. The official participation trophy of the light. Well done, my brother. So character defects, right? This is something that we talk a lot about on the boat because I had to do that. I had so many character defects that when I sat down with my homeboy that was helping me work and he said, all right, what are you going to keep and what are you going to throw out? Literally meaning in your personality. And I can't tell you how sad it is when you say, there's nothing of this that I want to take with me into the new one, right? That's an ugly, ugly position to be in. However, if that's you, right? If that's you, that's the basis and the start. That's the cornerstone of the rest of your life. You sit down and take an actual no BS evaluation of who you are, what you are, how you interact with people, all of that. Write it down. It should take days. It's super uncomfortable. It's one of the most uncomfortable things I have ever done. Right? He said, make a list, right? And the way he worded it was, if the person who knew you best on earth was going to write down who you are and they knew you would never read it, what is the first thing the person would say about you? Now, keep in mind at the time, I'm a smack freak, right? I'm still doing dope. I said, they'd call me a liar. I promise you. But what's the first characteristic? They'd say, dude lies. You have to. Honestly, I mean, hey, Tommy, what are you doing this afternoon? I'm going to go get 9 grams of smack. I'm going to start shooting in the car. I also got to go by Walmart to pick up a bag of U100 insulin syringes. Can't have a conversation and tell someone what you're doing. They text you. They call you on the phone. Hey, what are you doing, Tommy? Sitting in the parking lot. Dude said he'd be here with dope at 1. Right? It's 2:15, and I'm going to be sitting here until midnight because I can't leave. Right? I will sit here. I say I won't. I'm leaving in 2 minutes. I'm not going to leave. I can't. Ugly stuff, right? Ugly stuff. Ugly stuff. You gotta lie. You can't possibly, right? You can't possibly tell people the truth. Sadly, you just can't. And that got so pervasive in every aspect of my life. Tampa B, good to see you. It got it really becomes a part of who you are. That you just, all of a sudden, and what happens if you can't tell the truth to anybody? You understand where this is going, don't you? Lifeboat. I hope that you understand where this is going. If you can't be honest with people, then what you do is you withdraw. And the connection, especially any kind of real connection, even with the people you love, you can live with a person and have zero connection. Because people say all the time, man, when I was partying, I was around 50 people. Me too, right? I'd slam dope in a room with 9 other people, but I wasn't connected to anybody in that room. I promise you, right? No chance. Learning to love yourself will be a lifelong love affair. You may even be surprised at what you discover. Kellyanne, I am with you. And I'll tell you what, I think it's a great idea. I'm not there. I'm not there. Mona, 13 years sober. You do belong here. And the beautiful thing is, congratulations, Mona. I don't know anybody that doesn't. If you really want to know the truth, I don't know anybody that doesn't belong here. I don't. Between all the addictions, we listed these on the last show, between all the addictions we've got going on planet Earth currently, right now, there's nobody that isn't experiencing one of them in their life to a fairly decent degree. How much time do you spend looking at your phone every day? Be honest. How much time do you spend every day staring at your phone? You do a little research and you'll find out that the guys in Silicon Valley, right, coined the phrase dopamine hit to talk about thumbs up or a like or a comment. The person runs and looks and gets a dopamine hit, right? Just like, right, any other thing you're doing to get that dopamine hit. The phone is death, right? Such an easy addiction to pick up and such a hard one to put down. I promise you. You want to see what this stuff is? You want to see how this addiction is? You got a kid? You got a grandkid? Say to them, we're going to spend a little family time today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these puppies and we're going to put them away for 5 hours, right? For 5 hours. Watch them. Watch them. I watched a video on this and they were showing 2 different shots. And one was an addicted 17-year-old. This is a guy that literally needs an opioid. He needs something to take away the sick. And he had a lot of stuff running down the front of his face. If he didn't, you would not have known which one was waiting for a fix of an opioid and which one was waiting for their phone to be given back. They're both pacing the room. They're both grabbing themselves in self-soothing motions. What? That's where we're at. I promise you, that's where we're at. So when you start thinking, yeah, I think there are more addicts than normies. Christy Hughes, I don't think there are any normies, right? I've had people on the phone who started out with us here on the Lifeboat to say, I'm a normie. Never been addicted to anything. Never did any of that stuff, right? Never even thought about doing any of that stuff. And then you get into longer conversations and you find out that this person has been fighting an eating disorder for 21 years, right? You're not a normie. With all due respect, what do you think you're doing that for? You're doing that as a way to feel control in your life, right? So that you can feel comfortable in your own skin. Kestrel, well, that's a silly question. I am. All people should be judged by me. I am normal. The rest of you, not so much. I'm kidding, obviously. Bill Herrera used to teach high school. Biggest impediment to learning were the crack devices, iPhones, right? For real, crack devices. SoCal friend says, I constantly self-soothe. Are you a recovering addict? Because most of us do. Most addicts constantly self-soothe. Even if you don't realize you're doing it, you're constantly doing it. You're trying to help your mom. Trying to help my mom stop panicking about something minor. Every suggestion or supportive word I offer is met with, you're clueless, you're dismissive. It's like she just wants me to panic too. Without knowing what it is and without wanting to ask you what it is. Anytime we start to freak out about anything, panic in general, right? What drives panic? Fear of the unknown. I promise, always. You start panicking, it's because you don't know what's about to happen, right? We're, as human beings, we suck at that, right? We're so bad. If we can deal with doom, gloom, bad news, I mean, whatever, fist fights, but waiting to go get in a fist fight will absolutely drive a person crazy, right? If you get in a fight, it's an uncomfortable thing. It's never fun. Even if you win, you get that thing in your stomach. It just sucks. But if they said tomorrow at 4:00, we're going to meet back here and we're going to fight, what you will do between then and the following day. And it's like that with anything. It really is. It's like that with anything. So I always find that if I find myself starting to panic, I can usually back up and personally, I go, all right, let's take this through to its final conclusion. What is the worst freaking thing that can happen? Right? So the example I always use was the letter I got on a Friday that said, you need to be in my office at 8:00 the next business day, from my probation officer. And I'm going, what the hell did I do? I've done nothing wrong. And I'm sitting around and I start going down the drain. Right now I'm going, what if they didn't get me for something, right? Like, what if there's something out there and the statutes of limitations didn't run out and they're coming at me for some crime I did and they're going to bring me back. And boy, oh boy, you just start spiraling. And you want to hear the truth? The truth is I hadn't failed a drug test. I hadn't missed a meeting. I had done nothing that I could get in trouble for. That's the truth. However, that did not stop me. And I'll tell you something else. I'm a thief. That's what I did. I stole stuff. That was my crimes. My crimes always came back to me stealing things. Sad but true. That's what I was. So statute of limitations is 7 years, right? That's it. Statute of limitations, 7 years. I had just done an 8-year prison sentence, right? More than 8 years. I had just done more than 8 years in prison. So there's no chance in hell I could have anything outstanding. And on the way out the door, right before you leave, you have this moment where you feel like you're going to die because they say, all right, you can get out of here. Oh, wait, we have to run you through to see if you have any warrants. So then you sit there like this, shaking, man, because it happens. Guys will go off thinking life's cool to find out that they got an open warrant and they're not actually going home. Right? Worst possible case scenario, right? That's a very kind thing to say. You know what? I don't know that I'm even healthy yet, much less awesome or a badass. But I do appreciate the hell out of that. I really do. So what I do is I try to put stuff in perspective, right? Honestly. So what I did is I sat down probably about Saturday night, right? Now keep in mind, I got this thing on Friday at about 11:00. By Saturday night, I'm pulling the hair that I don't have out, right? I'm dying. I'm literally dying. It's driving me insane. And then I thought, you know what? This is, I tell people on the boat how to deal with this every day. This is, if you do a show like this, I'm great at telling people what to do. I'm not so good at actually following through with it myself. You feel me? But what I would tell people is take it through to its worst possible case scenario. So I sat down on the couch and said, worst possible case scenario, what's this going to be? They're going to arrest me tomorrow and put me in county jail. That's the worst possible case scenario. I'll survive it. Sucks, but I'll survive it. I've been to county jail so many times, right? I've been to prison. I can get through this. And I kept saying to myself, I've done nothing wrong, right? Haven't done anything wrong. There's nothing out there that I did wrong. And by this time, I'm calming down, right? I started to journal. What crime could they possibly be coming at me for, right? That a statute of limitations didn't run out on. I never committed any other crime. So now I'm thinking to myself, even if they do come anything that they're going to take me for that is a mistake, when I get back in front of a judge and I can say to them, never failed a test, never missed a payment, never missed a meeting, right? Monthly reports were done every single month. There's nothing that they can hurt me for. But you're not going to talk yourself into that in the beginning, right? Panic is the fear of the unknown. That's what starts it for me every time. You know what, Stephanie? I love that. I love that. Do you know how infrequently this happens? Stephanie says, my son chose joy. He went to prison and could have been broken by that god-awful experience. He emerged choosing joy still. Wow. You know what? It's a fantastic use of words. I don't know if he said that, but because that's exactly what you have to do. And I don't necessarily just mean joy, but you have to choose what's going to happen in there, right? You're going to be locked up. And most people choose survival, right? I'm just going to do whatever I got to do to get through this. Now, when you're on your second prison sentence, you know you're going to survive. You know what prison is. You know the people that don't survive. I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I had nothing to worry about. The second time around, I felt very, very comfortable, at least with the fact that I wasn't in any danger, right? It's just prison. By the third time around, it was occurring to me that this is where I was going to spend the rest of my life. It occurred to me that I was doing a life sentence. I was just doing it in an installment plan. And I was ready to choose anything other than that lifestyle, anything. And I sought out ways to try to do it. I went into a drug program there at the prison, which did literally nothing. I'm not exaggerating, nothing. On the bright side, quitting that program, if you quit a program, you're in trouble. In the feds, you quit a program, you're going to get a write-up for it. So instead of quitting the program, I switched from that program to a different one. And the different one was a work program through Unicor. And in that factory, Q, who would become my brother and best friend, Q worked in that factory. In fact, he's been working in that factory for 30 years. And everything, things happen for a reason, right? In the real prison, out in the real prison, if he and I were walking down the hall shooting the crap and just being the brothers that we are, that would go over really poorly, both with his car and with my car. Neither of them are going to be happy that I'm hanging out with a black dude or a black dude's hanging out with me. But inside the factory, that crap all had to go away because everybody in there is trying to assemble things. Everybody in there is trying to put together a project that 9 people have to work on. And they're not all going to be white. They're not all going to be black. They're not all going to be Mexican. So everybody kind of had to work together. It was the only place that the Q and I could have ever struck up and started doing the things that we were doing. It never would have worked any other place. But you absolutely make a choice. My favorite line, right? There's 3 things you can do in prison. You can lift weights, right? You can gamble, or you can cause problems. And when the kid says, "What did you do, Sonny?" He said, "I read books." No joke. I saw that movie on the carpet. In other words, I had been arrested. It's the only last time you're going to see carpet. There's a big square of carpet they tell you to stay on. There's a TV screen to keep everybody busy. And then you wait for them to call your name to either get bail or to go back into the housing units where all of a sudden now you're actually going to be an inmate. There was no chance of me getting bailed out. None. I mean, I knew what I was going away for, and there was no chance I was getting bail. I was a federal inmate. I was looking at probably a decade. I knew that. It's not a great day. But the movie A Bronx Tale was the movie that they had on the DVD that day. And it's remarkable that it is. It really is. Because that line stuck out. I remember saying, I'm not going to do this sentence the way I did the last one. I still thought I'd watch TV, right? And then I got my diagnosis and I read books, right? As fast as I could, I knocked them out. And there were people that I loved Q. I had more respect for that cat than anyone I ever met. So when he gave me a list of things that I needed to read, I was going to read everything on that list. I was going to read everything on that list, and I was going to do it as fast as humanly possible. Hey, Deb, you want to hear something cool? Deb says, I love that movie. You want to hear something cool? I never want to out anybody, right? Because you never know. Maybe they probably don't want to be or whatever. But one of the stars of that film is a is a member of the lifeboat. No joke. I thought for sure it was somebody that just used a name of a famous person. It is not. The person is a crew member on the boat. Tampa B. Tampa B is one of the kindest people out here. True story. Trips captain, you're never alone. You're on a lifeboat, right? You're on the lifeboat. For the fastest hours I've ever known. Much love, brother. You know what? Thank you, Jason P. I appreciate you. No idea you had that much sobriety. That's a beautiful thing, man. That is a beautiful thing. Proud of you. I really am. Finishing that up. Carry crap through to its worst possible case scenario, right? Because more often than not, if you can just accept that, all right, if this is what's going to happen, I can live with that, right? Worst case scenario, what's going to happen? Take that through to its final conclusion. And more often than not, we can then step back and go, I'll survive this, right? I'll survive this. It's like the show I did the other night, which, by the way, has cost me, I don't know, about 120 people or something, right? The sun will come out tomorrow. It did. I promise. I promise. It's always good. It's going to come out every day until it doesn't. Catalina says, Tommy, for those who are struggling and trying to assemble 5, how do they go about doing that? Well, the first thing I would do is work really hard on getting 1, right? Start with that one person first. And you're not going to do it here because if you put a phone number or you put an address up here, this is a nightmare, right? We can't have that happen. You will get inundated with way more stuff than you need, right? You're not going to want the whole world knowing where you live. You're basically doxing yourself. So you're going to have to hit one of the other platforms. And we have a Discord server, and we also have a group on Facebook. And this is where people go so that you can use Messenger or you can be in Discord, and you start to just get an idea. Perfect world. You're reading all these comments, right? And after a couple of days of being here, you're like, you know what? That person leaves really great comments. And when they talked, the person just sounds like the kind of person I would like to hang out with, the kind of person I think I could have a conversation with, right? And then you try to look for that person on one of the other 2 platforms so that you can go over there and go, hey, I don't know if you have anybody in your 5. Here's the thing. It's not a tremendous amount of pressure because for the most part, you're not a therapist, right? You're not working with this person on the daily. What you are is a ripcord. You guys make a vow, right? A vow that I'm not going to use before I call you. I may relapse, but I'm going to call you. Word of God, I'm going to call you before that relapse happens, right? That's your 5. That's the ripcord. And having 5 of them in this day and age, you can probably get away with 1, right? But when we started talking about this stuff, there wasn't 700 ways to get a hold of a person, right, at all times. I can send you an email. I can send you a text. I can hit you on Messenger. I can hit you on WhatsApp, right? There's so many ways to get a hold of people, or I could call you. The odds of you not getting a hold of someone, they're probably no longer with us. It's pretty damn easy to get a hold of someone. Now, if they're in a meeting or whatever, it's not a bad idea to have one other person. Absolutely. And ideally at 5 of them. Because the odds you can't get 5, if you can't get 5 people, the world has ended. Right? With all of the damn devices we have to stay in contact with one another. If you got a list of 5 friends and not one of them will pick up the phone, the world has stopped. Right? No other explanation. Jason P has a 1/4 century. See what I did there? It's a cruise ship now, says Christy Hughes. And you know what? There's something to that. It's certainly getting a hell of a lot bigger than it was. And you know what's funny about that? There was this douchebag that used to hang out on the boat in the early inception days of the boat, right? He was actually a very active participant on the channel. But he decided he wanted the boat to sink, right? Honestly, like made proclamations about it, made a bunch of videos, that kind of stuff. But we were at 1,200 subscribers and we got stuck. We did. You know, they slowed down the momentum of the boat, which was sad because if you think about what the boat's trying to do, when the momentum slows down, that's the kind of crap that can keep me up. You feel me? But they made a very big, they did a video and they proclaimed the boat is sunk. They'll never hit 1,300. Not sure they ever broke 1,000, but we're going to hit 27,000 tomorrow, people. And you know what? Most of you are part of that new 7,000 because we put 7,000 people in the last month and a half. And that kind of growth doesn't happen very often. And when it does, I intend to celebrate it. Right. So, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm sorry it is, but it's a lot of fun taking a victory lap when the people that set out to destroy you have yet to get the key in the ignition. Right. We've crossed the finish line 4 or 5 times. If it sounds like I'm gloating, I am. I absolutely am. Because the people that went after us are the lowest form of humanity. That's about all I got to say about that. Kristen Melinda says, love and support to the boat always. Had to sort out my husband's anxiety, says Megan Jeffrey, screwing with me. Tommy will have me in a good place. Reese will have me in a growth mindset and confident. All gets undone by my madhouse and the anxiety. Well, this is a hard thing. This really is a hard thing. And I should probably do a show on this because it takes, it's a long subject matter and it's longer than I could pull off today, but I'll give you, we'll touch on it really quickly. Inside of a federal prison, I had Q, right, who was the most positive influence on my life that I've ever met. There's never been anybody that was more of a positive influence on my life. Every other swinging, you know what, in there was a negative influence. And I'm not exaggerating. All of them. Most of them spend their entire day trying to come up with dope that they can get high with. And I'm not exaggerating. That's most dudes in the joint, especially at the custody level I was at. The vast majority of people were going hard doing drugs. So once I got away from Q, right, every other person caused anxiety, right? And not fear of, fear of I might collapse. I might give in. I might end up getting high with this person, right? That really was a constant fear, and it caused all kinds of anxiety, right? All kinds of anxiety. And what I did, there was I assume you're sober, right? For me, my biggest fear was the fact that I was going to lose my sobriety. And they tell you, you never say never, right? You never say, I'm never going to get high again. You don't say those things because those create pressure. So you say one day at a time, I'm never getting high again, right? I don't buy into any of that bull crap. I don't. Now, I'm not saying that one day at a time doesn't work beautifully because it does, right? One day at a time is great, but I can tell you something. My one day at a time on January 3rd, I'll still be sober, right? And that January 3rd could be 2025. It could be 2035. I'm not doing that crap ever again. I'm not. You would have to tackle me, right? There's no chance in hell I ever do that stuff to myself again. Do I recommend the same gender? Okay, here's the deal with that. I have people that I work with that the guys I work with, I don't ever trip out about, Catalina. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, and I'm just keeping it real, right? We're talking about and working through what? Trauma, right? Decent amounts of it. You ever heard about trauma bonding? Well, it's very, very real. Trauma bonding is a real thing. And I would recommend, right? I would recommend for me, I don't want to have to deal with women in that way. Sorry. It scares me, right? Especially because of the world that I live in, right? I had a person in the first season of The Lifeboat who made a video and said, Tommy sent me pictures of himself rubbing one out or whatever, right? And again, it was done by the same people, but it hurt the momentum of the boat. I did a show and said, go ahead and release him, right? You got him? Release him. Because it wasn't something that really happened. But I don't work with women because of that. I just don't. It's in this day and age, it's way too dangerous to. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to come out and defend myself against allegations or anything else. So at this point, I only work with men, one-on-one. I only work with men one-on-one. I think it's safer. I'm asking for a male friend of mine. One day he may need A5 if he chooses to do harm reduction and or sobriety. However, if you already have a solid relationship with the person, right, then I don't think it's so much of an issue. Where it really starts to become an issue, as I have seen it, is when two people end up in a rehab together, right? They meet each other in there, forget about it. If those people get into a relationship, I'll get an email from someone tonight that says, we're still together. I can't tell you the number of people I know who met in rehab and got married. I don't know any of them that made it. Don't know any of them that made it. It's a hard thing to do alone, right? The problem becomes very often that if you get two people together who are both addicts, one of them will lead the other one back. One of them will lead the other one back. There will be one day where it's just really bad and they'll go, come on, let's go get high. And that person will go, okay, but just this once and your life's over, because there's no such thing as just this once, right? Deb, I will do a show on anxiety. I promise. I promise. What's share? Looking good and green. Thank you so much for the support. It has been a month. Well, how about that? Well, how about that? What do I do to chill out? Do you mean relax, or like when I'm not doing anything? I no longer don't. There aren't too many days where I don't do anything. I have friends, and I spend my time with those people that I love. That's usually the best chill out for me, right? Just being around people that I really care about. That's really a beautiful thing. Yeah, you know what, Megan Jeffrey? Honestly, I wish it wasn't the world that we live in. I really wish it wasn't. I wish we lived in a world where I could work one-on-one with every single human being, but I can't. And the reason is, it's not that I don't trust, but the boat, right? This is more important to me. It is. It outgrew me in the first season. It became way more. It became way bigger and more important to me in the first year, and that's legit. It really did. Furry Bun Bun, what a great name. The Furry Bun Bun. Question: who is Reese? Oh my goodness, you must have just got here. Reese is Reese is a very, very good friend of mine, and our friendship became more than a friendship. We had a channel together that we called Cults and Crims, because she's a survivor of the Church of Scientology and I'm an ex-criminal. We ended up falling in love with one another, and it's almost impossible to have a relationship with somebody if both of you are content creators. It just is. And I don't mean this to sound, I don't mean this to sound like, I don't know, like I'm being negative or whatever, but what will happen is 150 people will give Reese advice about me, and 150 people will give me advice about Reese. And even if you don't ask for that advice, if you don't solicit it, or if you don't take the time to kind of deal with it, right, and to kind of look at it, well, then they'll do it in the chat, right? And then it starts to invade your life. If I could do it all over again, I think we would have done it and tried to keep it under wraps, because we're great. We're very well suited to one another. Girl makes me laugh like no one I've ever met. And the channel is called Relatable Reese. Can I get some wrenches to throw up some links to Relatable Reese, please? That would make me happy if you guys could throw up some. And you know what? While we're at it, there's 334 of you here, right? This is she and I are not together anymore. I still consider her a very close friend, and she's been abused to crap, right, by idiots out there in the cyber world. Same kind of stuff I'm talking about right now. Hateful, stupid individuals. So give her a subscribe over there for me, for real, and then go check it out. She'll make you laugh, I promise you. And she's one of those people that it's rare to see someone on planet Earth that honestly doesn't have a filter, right? Reese does not. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, there's nothing you can't ask her, and she's going to be very comfortable answering the question. And that's a really, really unique thing. You know what? She is a good person. One of the best. No joke. One of the best. Yeah, so that's who Relatable Reese. Perfect name, too. She's incredibly, incredibly relatable. Yes, she's unique, too, to be sure, Lisa Ann. It's pretty ugly, Darcy. And the sad thing is, thank you, Murphy James. I appreciate it. The sad thing is, none of it is just, right? And they use any reason whatsoever, because it's what it started out as was some angry people, and it's usually how it starts out. A couple of angry people begin to throw rocks, and then the next thing you know, they start making videos. And then on the bright side, I think that she's graduated from that. Took me a long time to graduate from that. She is very, very intelligent. She's articulate. She's got a ton of charisma. She really is. Megan Jeffrey says, I can't believe there is somebody with less of a filter than me. Oh, but there is. But there is. That's 36 years of being in the cult of Scientology. I don't know how much you guys know about the cult of Scientology, but they do a process called auditing. And you can think about it kind of like psychoanalysis. The difference being you're holding onto a device they call the e-meter. And for all intents and purposes, it's a low-rent Temu lie detector, right? It tests galvanic reflux and things like that. And it's going to do this one, right? It's got a meter on it. And the needle jumps and goes all over the place. But they sit you down and they ask you anything, right? The most disturbing and disgusting questions that you can imagine. And if you've been doing that for 36 years, getting out of that's a tough thing. But she's in therapy, which is, if you understand Scientology, a Scientologist going into therapy it's everything they taught her for 36 years was 38 years. That is that therapy and all of the people who push that stuff are evil. Psychology is the worst. I mean, they really push that. So, yeah, if you get your feelings hurt, don't hit her up. She does say it exactly how she is, to be sure. But there you go. That's who that is. That's who that is. Well, there you go. Catalina has an opinion too. Since we're doing it, let's do it right. What I love most about Reese is she's kind of remarkably funny. Genuinely, her take on life situations that could drag some down, she can make it funny. I always smile and laugh. She's great. You know what? I've had a lot of laughs. Humble and Kind. The Lifeboat absolutely has a Facebook group. I've had a lot of laughs, and I've seen her. You know, you should go check out her channel, right? And there is a video that was done. She's in Florida, and she goes up and talks to somebody who was in Scientology. Person achieved the level of clear that day, and there were protesters out just haranguing these Scientologists and sort of yelling at them, and it just makes me uncomfortable. I hate that stuff. I really do. I hate that stuff. But her approach, she walked up and said, "Hey, congratulations," right? And she was so kind to this person, right? And it was amazing because the cult opened the door and went, "You come here, come here, come here," like pulled him in, like we were getting ready to rob him or set him on fire. And there was so much more that got done without yelling a word, right? It laid what these people are open, right? Murphy James, thank you. No, you know what? Here's the deal. Okay, people, here's the deal on this one, because I know that you'll see Charlie Mullins, and he'll leave a comment that says, "You're lucky." I did a show a long time ago, and I said, I struggle sometimes with compliments, right? I think everybody does. Everybody struggles a little bit with compliments. But when you're sitting in front of a camera and there's 100 people saying nice things, you start feeling like you're shrinking. And I am wicked lucky that there are 300 people that will listen to me talk, especially because of where I've been, right? So I just wanted people to remind me, right? Instead of saying, "Hey, Tommy, I love the show," or anything else, just put, "Hey, Tommy, you're lucky." And I loved that. I thought it was a great concept. And Charlie still does it for me. But yeah, you know, it's not that, what I am is lucky. I really am. You know, it's such an incredible group of people. I started this channel, and thank God, but the first group of people that showed up were so damn kind that every other group that came in were just freaked out by the chat, by how nice and welcoming everybody was. No one ever walks onto the boat and starts feeling like, well, this is a group that's been together and I'm not a part of it, and it's just weird. No. Helena Flock of Swan Boat says, "I'm mostly here to see squirrel." No, I get that. Here, we'll double her up today. There you go. That's Squirrel Nut Zipper. Got her head tucked in there. More cat in a basket than you'll find any other place on the internet. Christy Hughes, thank you for spending part of your night with us. Now, I'm going to double back. Why, thank you, Deadhead. I think we are. If you want to know the truth, I think we are, right? I think we're a very kind group of people. Megan Jeffrey, I love that. I love that. I really do. Lisa B, you like the cat in the basket? Very much a part of the channel. The cat in the basket. You can go see shorts. where it's one, this is a cat in a basket, like Kathy Ann put 40 of them or whatever, me one right after the other, because that's how I used to end every single show. And it will be again in the winter. Squirrel in the summer, because of how hot it is, she doesn't get in the basket very much in the summer. But Jana says, I am new and I don't feel new. Well, that'll show you something, because I didn't even realize you were new. Right? For real. Just looked like a name that I had recognized. But Kellyanne, it's hard, isn't it? For some people, it is difficult to take compliments. And especially if you spend 13 years locked up, right? That entire environment runs on hate. It does. It's just the way it is, right? The entire environment runs on hate. These people hate these people. This people hates this people, right? We hate the cops hate us. Everywhere, it's just this, and it never goes away. It never goes away. And then I got out, right? And most people get out, and you get in a halfway house and you do these things, and it's very, very slow. There's this process of reassembling your life and trying to get everything put back together. That didn't happen for me, right? I mean, I had to work and do all that stuff, but I went from everybody on planet Earth hating me to everyone who knew me saying, oh, you're a great dude. I love you, this and that. And the culture shock of the two of them. My brother has a YouTube channel with silver play button on it. And I was spending a lot of time hanging out there. And I went from being hated to being really liked in a very quick period of time, right? It was a really hard thing to wrap my brain around, but I'm getting better. I am getting better. I promise. I used to make crappy comments. If somebody said something nice about me, I would kind of, I don't know. I would be self-deprecating, and it would make the compliment seem, I don't know. But somebody once called me on it, and since then I've been trying very hard to take compliments as they come, and I appreciate all of you who say it. I really do. Yes, chase the heat. Johnny is lucky, to be sure. Now, I now try to view a compliment as a gift from someone, not accepting it. Yeah, there you go. See, this is actually the way it was put to me. Is someone said it is a gift, right? And you're denying that person the joy of giving. And that really kind of smacked me in the head, right? Yeah. 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 And then you say, but instead of thank you, you know what I say? These days I say, thank you, I really appreciate that, or you're very kind, because it always shocks me at just how kind my audience is. That's usually, I think that's probably what I say more than anything else. I'm not sure. You probably know more than me, but I think that I say something along those lines. Oh, what a cool thing to say. I appreciate that. It's a very, very cool thing to say. It means the world to me. Tommy, you can turn my entire day around. It's been a crap day. You helped me more than you know. I love that. I love that. That's what we set out to do, right? Really and honestly, that's what we set out to do. This was supposed to be a place where you could come and you could say, I'm having a bad day. And instead of crapping on you like you'll get any other place you go, like, what do we care? We wanted a place where everybody was going to do what they could to lift people up. And I wanted a place where the people here can at any time consistently say, we are moving closer to love, not closer to hate. And I think it's a beautiful thing. My thoughts on Oprah. I did a show on it about 5 days ago. I don't like her. I don't like her. How much of what I've researched is absolutely real? I can't answer that question. I don't have any idea. But there's so much there are so many accusations that if 10% of it is real, she's a lowlife. Her name comes up with human T constantly. I'm not saying she's involved in it. I'm just saying her name comes up constantly. So much so that she put out a press release at one point saying it's ridiculous how often my name comes up associated with human trafficking. Anybody here ever been accused of that? Right? Anybody here ever been accused of that so much that you had to put a statement out or had to actually answer to it? Probably not, right? So I don't know. And everything that happened with her and Maui stunk. Absolutely stunk. Right? Do 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 do. All right, people. Yeah, too many tentacles to just be a fish. What a great way to put it. What a great way to put it. Sunset, you were right. And I think a lot of us knew because on the very first day that we covered this, right? They said he didn't put his hands down to break the fall. That is not something you make a decision to do, right? That is the reptilian part of your brain. That's the part of your brain that is going to deal with, right? You breathing in and you breathing out. Your eyelids doing what they do, your heart doing what they do, and your hand going out to stop you from landing on your face, right? If that's what's going to happen. In theory, that's the way it's, but he didn't. So that was concerning right from the word go. But now what we're looking at is, it looks like, looking a lot like somebody helped him over the edge, you know? Oh wow, you were there today, huh? You were on South Virginia today, Bill Herrera. The last time I was there, it didn't look beautiful. They've been really kind of, I think they've been working on it, and they're also building like 25 gazillion apartment complexes in that town because they're all trying to work up at the giga plant, right? The Tesla giga plant was built there, and it's like 30,000 jobs or something. So a lot of apartments have been built. Perez Hilton posted a few hours ago that Autopsy came back with only blow and his prescribed drugs. Well, isn't that odd? Huh? Isn't that odd? Because that is not what they said the first day, right? The first day when they tested him, there was a long ass list of things in his system. Today, comes back only blow and prescribed drugs. I'm struggling to believe that. I'm sorry, but I'm struggling to believe that. We know, first of all, if the only things in there was now, let me rephrase that. I'm sure he's prescribed Klonopin, right? I mean, if you're rich and famous, getting a doctor to write you a script for Klonopin ain't difficult. And they did say it was anxiety medication, right? Klonopin. That's a rugged drug. He also had a bottle of whiskey with him. And if you're drinking whiskey and taking Klonopin, you'd be in real serious trouble. You know, it's a dangerous thing to mix those. Now, originally they talked about ketamine. They talked about a lot of other things. Now, perhaps Perez Hilton is correct. If he is, you'll understand our making a mistake, since that is not what they reported originally. Well, they're different strokes for different folks, but I am glad that you're here. You know, Dan, see, a lot of people, if they're taking Klonopin, it's considerably stronger than Xanax. It is. It's a very, very strong benzo. It really is. I mean, unless you took the smallest amount of Klonopin you possibly could, and you took the largest amount of Xanax that they would write you a prescription for. If you were taking like 5 milligram bars, it's going to feel similar to what you're doing with a low rent Klonopin. But Klonopin is the stronger of the drugs, to be sure. So, yeah, right. This is my problem right here. Right. This is my problem. How do you mess that up? How can you say that a tox result showed this and then go, oh, yeah, we made a mistake, right? Or that's not what was in there. That kind of crap. And it spawns conspiracy theories and all of the other stuff that goes along with it. And that's a bummer. That is a bummer. Alcohol doesn't go along with any medication if that medication is for anxiety. You know what, Murphy James? I didn't say this, you did. I didn't say this, you did. Right? At all. I didn't say it, you did. But he sure was silent on the Atwood program, wasn't he? It was like he was covering his backside in a way that, I say allegedly a lot. This cat was afraid to say allegedly. It really was very, very odd. That entire thing was bizarre. And he gave the impression that he thinks that everything is a conspiracy theory. Everyone's got a right to their opinion. right? Everyone has got a right to their opinion. Now, I will tell you, I don't think it is, right? I said that codeine scared me. Yes, no, I'm not scared by codeine. Codeine is yeah. If you thought I said that, I didn't. Codeine is not a drug I would say that I'm worried about. It's not. You don't run into a ton of people that are ODing on codeine. You know what I mean? I'd be less freaked out by that than any of the other stuff. Kelly, that's a nice thing to say. That is a really nice thing to say. Hey, Tommy, your vibe attracts your tribe. I like that. This is a very special group. Respect all of you for your living, caring warmth. Much appreciation. I think I will leave with that one and prove that I can take a compliment. Jesus Christ is the Savior. I have been lying for so long about being allergic to, allergic to codeine that I'm not sure if I really am. I'm not even being funny, right? I am not even being funny. It's just one of those things that if you're addicted to opiates, you don't want them writing you a prescription for codeine. It's the worst possible case scenario, right? So when you go in there, the first thing that most junkies, and I'm not talking about any of you, I'm talking about me. First thing you do when you go in there, they say, are you allergic to anything? Yeah, codeine, right? So you're going to have to give me an actual proper pain med, right? It's just one more hustle. Brock Bandy, good to see you. All righty, people. I am the Admiral, right? And this right here, that is a cat in the basket. Perhaps the cutest cat in the basket you will ever see. Squirrel, nut zipper. All right, people. I'm the Admiral. I'll see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, all right? Thank you.